It's the Odd Drunk Podcast, a very strange podcast, the drunkest show in the world. It's Jackson and Colton talking out of their ass. We don't care as long as drinks are poured. Sometimes we have our friends here. We will talk about anything. We don't care as long as we have beer. And if you let that whiskey ring. The Odd Drunk Podcast. Welcome to the Odd Drunk Podcast, everybody. I'm excited for this episode. I'm really excited for it, actually.
Yeah, it's a very loose episode, but it's gonna be
It's
fun.
loose, but it's something that we really enjoy that we've pretty much never talked about on this show for the entire run.
We've mentioned it from here and there because
But-
we've got a special guest here tonight.
Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned it, but I bought the Danny DeVito. Well, I mean, wait. Danny DeVito has been living with me for the last couple months.
If you're a fan of the show, you might be aware of this.
I'm not going to explain it anymore, but he came in for the show.
Yeah.
He's just going to be there. He's just
very-
going to be watching.
He's very 2D looking tonight.
But there's a reason Danny DeVito's here, because we are talking about Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes. One of our favorite shows.
And from here on, we're going to refer to it as Always Sunny, because that's too long of a title to say every time.
Yeah,
That's what the true fans.
For reference, if we say It's Always Sunny, we're not talking about It's Always Sunny in Moscow.
No. But yeah.
Which is the...
I do want to check that out.
It is the Russian knockoff of It's Always Sunny.
But it's also a special episode because... And I'm not going to make a huge deal out of it, but it's our 60th episode.
Yeah.
We're
60th.
slowly but surely making the climb to 100. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I remember getting happy about getting to... I remember when we got to our third episode.
We're like, damn, we're good at this.
Well, not that. Not even remotely that. But
I thought we were pretty good
the
at
fact
it.
that we thought of something and we committed to it instead of just coming up with a crazy idea, doing it for a week, and then abandoning it completely. Because that happens so often with us.
I was listening to another podcast this week. Our good friend Devin, his podcast, which maybe we'll talk about at some point.
Yeah, hopefully we can collaborate.
But I was
That'd
listening.
be awesome.
There's 6 episodes into their podcast, and they sound infinitely better than we did 6 episodes into our podcast.
Well, yeah, they obviously have the equipment and everything that they need from the start.
It took us until the New Year's episode, I think, was our first episode we did with
the current equipment.
With the current
And
equipment
the
in the studio and everything.
The studio wasn't complete at that point, though.
No, we didn't have the sound proofing.
And when we say studio, it, your spare room. But
Nah.
no, it is
Studio.
nice. I mean,
It's a studio.
you can really tell in here that the soundproofing does make a difference. Our voices are more condensed. Our early episodes, reverb and echoes all over the place.
Yeah.
And like we've said many times, the first couple, we literally just plugged.
I remember
We plugged a mic into a computer
recording the
with a aux cord at that, like a weird adapter situation.
we recorded the episode on the lighthouse when I was in the process of moving. So we were in a bedroom. I remember us recording that episode. Bedroom. We had 2 chairs and a milk crate with the recording equipment on top, and bottles of rum. And there was nothing else in the room. It was just an empty room.
That was honestly a really fun episode.
It was a very fun episode. Yeah.
I think the emptiness of that room and the claustrophobia really contributed, to us talking about the lighthouse.
Yeah. Just an empty room with just us and a milk crate.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much.
Now we have.
I could see character
equipment
actor
more.
Willem Dafoe being in an empty room with a milk crate.
Yeah.
And screaming.
Character actor, character actor Willem Dafoe. If you're listening, and you want to come on the show and be a guest, shoot us a message on Instagram.
I got a funny anecdote here. God, I feel like a douchebag for using that word, but all my college professors use that word because it's intelligent, it's academic. But anyways, I was watching. It was, I believe it was Stephen Colbert with Willem Dafoe.
Oh, I like Stephen Colbert a lot.
Yeah. And I think it was Stephen Colbert. Oh, no. I watched a lot of Stephen Colbert stuff recently, but it was Conan.
Okay.
It was Conan.
I like Conan more.
Willem Dafoe.
Conan's great.
And he pulled up an old interview. I mean, not an old interview, an old thing, video from the 70s of Willem Dafoe in like an Actors Guild class or whatever. And he still very much looked the same.
Of course.
Just a bit more, a bit healthier looking.
A little bit
arguably.
smoother.
Smoother, yeah.
Yeah.
But he pronounced his name in that video as Willem Dafoe.
Dafoe. Oh, no.
And Conan just talked about how lame that was. And he was like, is that the correct way to pronounce your name? And he was like, no, I didn't even know how to pronounce my name back then.
That's just what he's saying. He just actually got bullied into pronouncing it Dafoe.
But Dafoe,
over the last 30 years or whatever.
That is the name of a true character actor.
Yes.
I'm surprised. I'd love to see him show up in Always Sunny in some capacity.
Oh,
that would be amazing.
Be amazing.
Get him and Danny DeVito in a room.
I watched American Psycho recently, and I forgot that he was in that as well.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff.
He's the detective in that.
Yeah. But
speaking of character actors, character actor Danny DeVito.
He's great.
I mean, It's Always Sunny is great in general, but it wouldn't be the same without Danny DeVito.
Oh, no. Those first couple seasons without Danny DeVito as Frank Reynolds, I definitely saw the potential in them. And I respect them, and I still watch them every once in a while.
Yeah, it's
but
I don't think it's until season 3 about that the show picks up its pace and kind of finds itself. Yeah,
it really finds itself towards the end of season 3 and with season 4. Season 4 is where that's basically at Always Sunny you're gonna get. Yeah, they do more experimental stuff later. It becomes HD
I think there's
later.
a couple episodes in season 3 where you get a hint at that.
You get a hint at it.
I have one of them on my list here of episodes. But I saw an interview with Rob McKennelly, who plays Mac, and he's the main writer of the show.
Yeah.
And he said that so they did their first season with FX, and FX basically came to them and said, "Hey, we want to bring in someone more high profile to the show." And their response was and FX was like, "How about Danny DeVito? We can get him on it." And Rob was pretty much just like, "No, thanks."
Yeah.
He was like, "We're good." And then FX was like, "Okay, then we'll just cancel the show." So they're like, "Okay, well, let's get Danny DeVito then."
Well, I'm so glad they threatened to cancel it because that would have been a horrible mistake.
It worked out really well.
Yeah.
So for this episode, we thought it'd be fun to choose maybe 5 episodes each that we think are just really good It's Always Sunny episodes. But before we get to that,
I'll explain it again later.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, what are we drinking? I am personally myself here as a human being on this planet at this current time of 9:25 p.m. Mountain Time. Shit, nothing.
Mexico time.
Sure.
That's a time zone.
At this time, in this place, in this point, what I'm really trying to say is I am drinking Breckenridge Brewery's Autumn Ale. I can't remember if we've had it on the show. If we have, I didn't really mention it.
I don't remember if we did.
I don't think
we've had Breckenridge on the show, but I don't think this specific
not this
one
specifically. And it's really, it's good. I mean,
Yeah, because I know we have Fat Tire, and Fat Tire's Breckenridge. Correct me if I'm wrong.
it's a brown ale,
Yeah.
and it's smooth. It's 7% alcohol, blood volume, or blood content. Not blood. I always say blood content.
Yeah, blood content.
Blood alcohol by volume. I've already had a few, by the way, before
Yeah,
I came in.
I'm
So,
about 5 drinks in right now.
but that's very on theme. That's on theme for this show and also for Always Sunny because they're always drunk in that.
Oh yeah,
And I was trying to think of a drink that would be on theme for them.
they would drink anything.
They're either drinking nondescript light beer,
Yeah,
grain alcohol, tequila in sunscreen bottles. I think one of the episodes
yep. That's
has
on
that in it.
That's on our list here.
Or just anything.
I think they'll drink anything. They might
Paint.
I feel like they'd have some
Charlie,
strong opinions about some IPAs.
Charlie, for instance, would drink just straight up paint.
Yeah, I think they'd have some strong opinions about some IPAs, but not because they actually don't like IPAs, but it's actually because they're just assholes.
Yeah.
I'm drinking from Dry Dock Brewing, Mister's Hard Seltzer. It's a pineapple coconut seltzer.
That sounds great.
It's pretty decent. It's just what I had in my fridge. I bought it like a couple months ago for my girlfriend, and she's not touched it yet.
That's funny.
So now I'm drinking it. I didn't want to go out.
I feel like they would really have words to say about that,
Yeah,
about the seltzer. I wonder if they're ever going to address that issue.
it's a good seltzer. It's it was either this or whiskey, and as manly as whiskey is, I didn't feel like drinking whiskey tonight.
And also, I believe they are currently filming season 15 at the moment.
Yeah, they're the longest running sitcom, live action sitcom of all time.
Let me just double check. Yeah, because season 14 already came out.
Yeah.
And I think season 14, although I did not pick an episode from it, it is hit its stride for the modern, like, millennial Always Sunny.
I think It's Always Sunny. I mean, with their most recent seasons, they're very good. But when you compare them to the old seasons, they're very different.
Well, yeah, it's very polished now.
It's more polished, but it's also changed for the times a bit.
At the same time, though, it's just as obscene or more obscene than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's what I really respect. But season 12 was the one that was the introduction into the modern Always Sunny.
Yeah, and I don't have anything
Season
on my
11
list
was
past
still
them, but-
season 11 was still very much like season 7 Always Sunny. So, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So we both picked 5 episodes just kind of off the top of our head without too much thought. 5 episodes that we would recommend for anyone wanting to get into the series, or, just episodes that we really think encapsulate the series, or not even just that, just personal favorites. There's some on here that is honestly just a personal favorite for me. Others that I'm like, you should really watch this one if you want to.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a newcomer, definitely.
I didn't think about it that hard when I chose episodes. I just chose.
Well, I didn't. I mean,
I just chose episodes I really enjoyed.
I hardly thought about it, but after I chose my episodes, I'm like, I kind of got a good spread here, a smorgasbord of Always Sunny, because I've got your episodes that would be good for new people. I've got your episodes that I hope, the true Always Sunny fans would, agree with me on. And then I've also got some honorable mentions, actually 5 honorable mentions that I quickly went through and came up with. And there was one that almost made my list. Actually, 2 that almost made my list.
In watching episodes for this episode, I ended up watching a lot of It's Always Sunny, and there's just a lot. I didn't realize how hard it would be to narrow it down to 5 episodes. So there are some good episodes out there that I almost put on this list.
No, yeah. In general, at least in our opinion, I would say we both agree that Always Sunny is a S tier sitcom, quote unquote, but it's not really that.
It's an anti-sitcom.
Yeah, anti-sitcom.
The way Rob
big
McEnally
middle
would like
finger
to
like Friends.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the shows that the cast has gone off and done separately, like the Mick or AP Bio?
I've watched the Mick. That the first season of that was fine. It was fun seeing Caitlin Olsen, take the lead. AP Bio, I really enjoyed
I
that.
thought AP Bio was really good. I'm super behind on it. I've only watched the first season.
And it did get renewed.
So.
It was canceled, but it got renewed. I think it's just under Hulu now.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good show. I've not watched Rob McEnally's new show. What's
the
it
D&D one?
No, it's not a D&D
Not
one.
D, but it's like a MMO. Like
it's like video game developers who develop a really popular game.
Yeah.
Mythic Quest or
Mythic
something
Quest,
like
I think that's what it's called.
something like that.
But yeah, I love Glenn Howerton and AP Bio. Glenn Howerton was the runner-up for Star-Lord.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have liked to see that.
He was really close. Chris Pratt eked him out, though.
Apparently Charlie Day is involved in Mythic Quest as well.
I would love to see that's cool. I would love to see, I love Charlie Day. He's
Mythic
amazing.
Quest Raven's Banquet.
Oh, okay.
Is the full name, because apparently I saw an interview with Rob McEnally where he said he just likes the idea of titles that are just too long.
Well, I mean, his first and foremost show, Always Sunny in Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just call it It's Always Sunny. But yeah, imagine a Marvel What If scenario or just multiverse scenario where you get Glenn Howerton as Star-Lord. I would love to see that.
That'd be awesome.
Apparently he also tried up for...
He did get ripped for It's Always Sunny, so we know what that would look like.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
No, Rob McEnally did.
Glenn Howerton. Oh, I was confusing people.
I mean, Glenn Howerton is okay, but yeah, Rob McEnally got super ripped. He was fat. He got ripped. He was skinny. It's all over the place. Now he's going a little bit back to normal because that's a really hard lifestyle.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, I mean,
where are we going to start here?
I will kill everyone in this room if we don't decide in 5 seconds.
Okay, Dennis. So I chose an episode here.
Okay, Colton's starting.
Season 3.
Oh, yeah, and we are going in chronological order.
Are we?
I did.
We're going to try.
When I listed it.
I didn't list mine that way. I'm going to try my best.
Okay, just whatever order. Your top 5. Just go for it.
I will try my best to make it chronological.
You know what? We don't have to have any order here on this podcast. Yeah. No order. Chaos.
I'll try my best. Season 3, episode 4, which is by far the earliest episode on my list. The gang gets held hostage. I think this is a great episode. I think this is one of the earliest episodes that you see the show kind of show off what it can do with the characters.
No, honestly, so when I first watched Always Sunny, it was with some roommates, but I started where they were at, and I was around it was right around the end of season 4, so I didn't get to see the early seasons at first, but I went back, and the gang gets held hostage would have been on my list if you didn't already pick it.
Yeah, it's
at least in my honorable mentions, because I truly... The ones I picked, I didn't just pick mine because you already took the ones I wanted. Of course,
yeah.
But the gang gets held hostage. I know this is your portion of the episode, but it totally encapsulates what Always Sunny is about.
I think you're right that season 4 is kind of when the show really hits its stride, but there's a few standout episodes in season 3 that are the exception. I think this is the main one that's the exception.
I would agree.
So for a recap, gang gets held hostage. So the McPoyles show up and hold them hostage at their bar. And it turns out at the end they're all faking it just to get revenge.
And for the uninitiated, the McPoyles are basically an inbred hillbilly family, and some of them live in Philadelphia, and like Charlie had some interactions with them.
Yeah.
In previous episodes, the actors, they're great. I love.
Really
they're
good.
one of my favorite reoccurring characters. They haven't shown up in a while now. But
no, not since like season 10 or so. I want to say. No, but yeah, they're kind of It's Always Sunny's version of like the Shroots from The Office or stuff like that. And they're weird. They only drink milk, and they.
So yeah, Liam McPoyle. He's like the head of the the main one, the reoccurring one. He's Jimmy Simpson.
Yeah.
And then Ryan McPoyle, Nat Mooney, and then there's all sorts of other ones.
In this episode, Margaret, who's the she's mute
and like deaf.
And this episode, I just. So like,
and they all have unibrows.
Like
they go around wearing bathrobes.
One thing that
milk.
I like from the very beginning of the episode. So the gang's hanging out in their bar, and it's in Patty's pub, and the McPoyles come in, and they're wearing their ski masks. So the gang doesn't know it's the McPoyles yet, and they point the shotguns at them, and immediately before the McPoyles have the chance to say anything, they immediately surrender D to them.
Yeah.
They just start going off and be like, "Oh my god." And they start making assumptions and go like, if you want, you take her.
And yeah, it's a reoccurring joke that they're always hating on D.
Yeah. But that D gets Stockholm Syndrome in this episode.
Yeah.
And also, Frank's the entire time, almost the entire time, is in the vents because he's looking for his will that he hid in the vents.
Yeah, and he's looking at Charlie's map, which is just scribbles. It doesn't make any sense.
There's a lot of points in this episode where it'll have like one shot where it'd be like Max saying like, "I would never betray you guys," and then immediately the next shot he closes the door into another room, calls Frank on the walkie-talkie, he'd be like, "I'm betraying them."
Yeah, yeah. You get a lot of great interactions. Everyone gets to shine. The McPoyles are great and weird, and you get good Charlie moments. You get good Mac moments, especially how wishy-washy he is. Charlie and Dee have like a weird moment together.
Yeah.
Where like they kiss each other and he slaps her.
I don't remember if it's Dennis or Mac that bangs Margaret McPoyle. I think it's Dennis.
Dennis.
No, it's Mac.
It's Dennis.
Is
in
it?
that episode, he seduces her.
Okay.
He takes his shirt off to show her his pecs.
Right.
And but then
no, it's
Dennis.
Okay, I'm thinking a different episode.
No, Mac banged her in one of my honorable mentions. We'll get to that.
The Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah. But Dennis gives very little rejection to that. He just is basically just like, okay.
But nothing actually happens. He's like he took his shirt off and like it's like all sweaty and just like in his tidy whities because they turned the thermostat up.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
they make them all wear bathrobes.
Yeah, you're gonna live how we live, basically. And Frank is just burning up, and you get in the vents, and I love the moment in the end where Ryan McPoyle is on the edge of the bar on the roof, and
he's holding on to him.
He's holding
Frank's
on to
trying to push him off.
Frank's pushing him with like a 2x4,
and he lets go, and then he falls like 5 feet.
Yeah. And he was like, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah. And then he's like, maybe it burns my feet a little bit. And they're like, all right, bitches, let's go. And they just...
Oh, yeah, and it's revealed.
They're rubber guns.
So they force him to smash a bunch of shit, which Mac has no problem with.
Yeah.
But it's revealed that they had rubber guns. But Frank always has his little snub-nose revolver on him.
Because then he starts...
firing haphazardly. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great episode. I haven't seen that one in a while, so I don't know too many of the details. But yeah,
I think that's one of the earlier episodes where they really hit their stride as a show, though.
Yeah.
So I included it. It's a good episode.
And that's season 3 episode
4. Season 3, episode 4.
Episode 4, they're going to get held hostage. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have?
If we were doing a tier list, which we're not, I would put that like A at least.
That is an A tier episode. Yeah.
Possibly S, but there's some other ones that I think eke it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go next, or
I don't think I have another episode until season 7.
Okay.
So if you have
if we want to do it,
if you have any episodes before that, we should.
So I have a very classic episode. In fact, if you have never seen Always Sunny, and I was gonna show you one episode just to show you exactly what this show's about, this would probably be it. There's some other ones I would consider, but this one's just such a classic, and it's The Nightman Cometh.
Ah, yes.
Season 4, episode
Classic.
13, the finale of that season. And here's what I love about it. It's
a Charlie episode.
it's a Charlie episode.
Charlie episodes are some of the best ones.
There's a Charlie episode. I didn't put in my honorable mentions, but I should have. But I'll talk about it in a second. But it's a Charlie-centered episode. It's very much a bottle episode.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they do go to a different place, to the theater, it's very contained.
Yeah.
Each member of the gang gets their moments. Their great character moments. And it's also a musical, but it's not in your face musical, because that only happens towards the end of the episode, and it's just hilarious the whole time.
Yeah.
And they do a musical. In fact, I almost included The Gang Turns Black.
That is a good episode.
That whole episode's a musical. That's probably my favorite off of season 12.
That episode is a musical. This episode, the synopsis is Charlie writes a musical. And everyone participates.
He writes a musical play, and it's The Nightman Cometh, which they've Charlie and Dennis actually sang the Dayman song in a previous episode.
Yeah.
When the gang forms a band. I forget which episode it was.
Yeah.
But so you already have an established song from... They're kind of building lore. And what I respect about the whole series, you have a lot of episodes that are self-contained, but they still make... Even if it's minor, they make little references to the past.
They're generally good at continuity.
Really good continuity.
The only stuff they don't do well with continuity is stuff like Charlie's his level of illiteracy is kind of inconsistent.
Well, I like that there's
things
a mystery
like
to him.
Yeah, things like that.
Charlie's illiterate.
For the most part, continuity is really well done in this.
And Charlie may actually be the most intelligent one if he wasn't illiterate.
Yeah, Charlie Work is a really good episode that shows actually that he's very competent.
Well, in this episode, the fact that he wrote this whole play, and I know he wrote it in his typical like scribbles and crayon, but he wrote a play with characters and parts and composition. So,
and it turns out
set
to
design,
all be a scheme.
It's all a scheme to get with the waitress, which we still don't know her name. That is Charlie's real life wife. I forget her name. What's her name?
I don't remember. There's a theory among fans that her name is Nikki Potnick. But Glenn Howerton has said
debunked it.
That it's not. So,
but it does make a lot of sense in that episode.
Yeah, because of the family or the
high school
reunion episode,
which are also great.
Which is the best evidence we have of that theory.
Yeah, Mary Elizabeth Ellis. That's the waitress. That's Charlie's real life wife. They were actually married before this show started. Caitlin Olsen and Rob McKinley, they got married around season 3, I believe. And it's funny because Mac is the one that makes fun of Dee the most.
I follow Rob McKinley on TikTok.
Oh, nice.
He has a TikTok account, and in a lot of his videos, he does videos with the It's Only Stunning gang. And he will edit the videos so when Caitlin Olsen talks, it's a bird.
Yeah. No, that's a really interesting relationship they have. But yeah, the Nightman Cometh, and it's got Artemis in it.
Yeah.
She's a great reoccurring character. She hasn't shown up. Well, no, she did show up in season.
Yeah,
I remember she was in season 13.
This isn't.
She's been. Her and like Rickety Cricket are the two longest reoccurring characters, I believe, in the show.
Yeah.
And
because she just started as like Dee's friend.
Yeah, Dee's theater friend,
and
now she's really become this weird, crazy character. But yeah, I mean, the episode's great to the build up to the actual play. You get Charlie. I loved seeing Charlie as the director, and like when he just starts losing his shit.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
Now I'm all the way up to here. And when they're rehearsing, and like Dee and Dennis are doing a weird tiny boy, little boy song.
There's weird undertones in this episode.
There's a lot of weird undertones, but it's also the gang just misinterpreting his play and like trying to like look more into what it actually isn't. And then Frank, you get plenty of good Frank stuff like early in the episode.
The troll toll.
Well, that's obvious. You got to pay the troll toll if you want to get in this boy's hole. And he says he's slurring it.
Yeah.
But that's what he says. And Charlie's like, it's boy's soul.
Like, stop it, Frank. Fucking it up.
But like in the beginning, and this is like kind of a reoccurring thing with Frank. He was like, well, back in the 70s, we were naked and all over each other. And he's like, well, this isn't the 70s, Frank. And you get great Mac moments when he's the Nightman doing his karate moves.
With the cat eyes.
The cat eyes. And like, he's like, I'm not looking for laughs. I'm looking for gas. But then he ends up being laughed at the most.
One of the honorable mentions I almost threw in was Mac Day.
Mac Day's good, yeah.
They have Country Mac.
Yeah. But then, and Glenn Howerton is Dennis. He gets great moments. He's the day man.
Yeah.
And I love the moment where Dayman becomes, well, the little boy becomes Dayman.
Yeah.
And he kills Frank, the troll. And someone hands him a gun prop. He grabs a gun and
bang,
Frank's
bang,
like, what's
bang.
that? And he's like, you know what it is, bitch. Bang. And then he pulls his heart out. It's really good. And the whole battle with Mac and Dennis as the Dayman and Nightman, where Mac forgets his lines and starts improvising, quote unquote. He was like, I'm gonna kick your ass, bro. Like, just like and Dee, she gets her good moments in this episode. Like, this episode,
this is an episode for the whole gang.
Gets every gang. It's a Charlie episode, but every member of the gang gets their moments. And like Dee,
I have an episode later in here that is really just two of the characters. But like
those are good too.
But most of the best episodes are episodes where every part of the gang gets their moments.
I think the best episodes in general are either when each part of the gang gets their moments, they all get to shine, or it focuses on one or two, a couple members of the gang.
Yeah.
And you really get to look into their characters and all that. And Dee gets the moment where she improvises a song where she was singing about like, most men would rate me a 9 or 8 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
And Charlie's just losing. He's like, I'm going to slap her face off. And also, you get Doris, who's also a reoccurring
playing
character.
the piano, yeah.
She's in the show every once in a while. This really elderly lady. And Charlie's like, this is Doris. She's going to play the piano. And they're like, what? And she has no idea what's going on. And she keeps on mentioning her relationship or whatever. Or she knew Calvin Coolidge.
Calvin Coolidge.
So I love that. You get Artemis in it. And I love all the moments where Charlie's like, can I get 5 with the talent, please?
I feel like Calvin Coolidge is the default reference that writers use to someone being old.
Yeah.
So I've been watching a lot of the show Community recently, and Chevy Chase is in that.
Oh, yeah.
And there's one episode, I don't remember what the episode is, where they reference Calvin and Hobbes, and he goes, what, Calvin Coolidge?
Even though that's even way before Chevy Chase's time
Yeah.
in the 20s.
It seems to be the default reference to someone being old.
But yeah, the Nightman Cometh, and you get the classic song, Dayman.
Yeah. We're not going to embarrass ourselves too much.
No.
By trying to sing that.
But you get that, and it's fantastic. And I've got a couple Always Sunny Funko Pops, and they come straight from the episode. So my girlfriend, I got her, she picked out D in the pink like princess costume with the Converse and stuff. And then I got Charlie as the day man with the top hat and suit.
Nice. Yeah.
I would love to do that for something, for a con or Halloween or anything. I would love to do that at some point.
I want to be Nightman.
Oh yeah, the cat eyes and the
karate gi with his nose sleeves ripped off. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, the Nightman Cometh. That's honestly, out of all these episodes, that's what got me into the show.
That is an episode
for me.
I thought about choosing for this episode, but I thought I would choose some less obvious ones because that's a pretty obvious one, but for good reason though.
Well, out of all the episodes I picked, that's my obvious one, but I feel like I had to.
The other obvious one that I didn't throw in here is Charlie McDennis.
Same. I almost threw that in there too. But that one for me, after watching the show a crap ton, it loses its novelty.
Yeah, I could see
after a couple viewings, because like what's so great about that episode, Charlie McDennis and Charlie McDennis 2 Electric Boogaloo, with the guy that plays the CEO in The Office.
Yeah.
He's great. But
I forgot.
And he's actually a corporate
same guy.
Yeah. But what's great about those episodes, especially the first one, it's the theme of the episode that Frank has no idea what's going on because it's like a very personal, weird game with all kinds of
inside joke thing.
Yeah, and
he's just trying to understand it.
That's how you feel when you're watching that episode for the first time. You're like, "What the? This doesn't make any sense."
It's a good first episode.
Yeah, it really is. And that would be a good first episode watch for the series.
Do you have any
honestly.
other episodes before season 7?
No. So season 4 is my earliest episode.
Okay. So my next episode I chose was season 7, episode 2. The gang goes to the Jersey Shore.
Mm-hmm.
This is a classic one. This is another one where every member of the gang gets their spot to shine because they all split off. You have the Dee and Dennis story arc.
Yep.
You have the Frank and Mac, which is an unusual combination. You don't see a lot.
You're seeing it more lately.
Yeah.
I think that's why, honestly, because they realize that works well.
The Frank and Mac, and then Charlie just goes on his own little adventure.
Mm-hmm. And it's really wholesome with him.
The whole concept of this episode is Dee and Dennis reminisce about how they used to go to the Jersey Shore on vacation. And they want to do it again. And everyone else is super reluctant. Frank is like, oh, that place was shit. I don't want to go there again. Charlie and Mac have never been there. Charlie's never been outside of Philadelphia.
He's never been to the ocean.
In fact, well, they're in like the alleyway and they decide to go. And they're like, okay, let's all go. And then Mac grabs Charlie and chokes him out.
Yeah.
And he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. And that's how they get Charlie to leave.
I think that's a bit of a continuity error, though, even though it is funny.
Yeah.
I think they mention it, but in the one where they go on the road trip to the Grand Canyon, where they never leave Philadelphia, they're just making all these stops, you're driving circles.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they don't have to knock him out, because they're in Philadelphia the whole time.
Yeah.
But that one, I don't think they mentioned that.
No.
I think Charlie's just in the back of the car drinking beers and like is fine with it.
No, I think, but I still found it funny. That's like,
but then he can't even knock him out.
They have to knock him out to get him to leave.
And Mac always fails too.
No, he succeeds this time because they wake up.
Oh, they get chloroform. Right?
No, he just grabs him by the neck and just chokes him out.
Because there's another one where he tries to choke him out, and Charlie's like, "What the hell? You can't."
No, he succeeds this time. He just grabs him by the neck and chokes him from behind and chokes him out.
Oh, I couldn't.
And then it cuts to the title card. So it's like he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, and it cuts to the title card.
And he he's consensual. He lets them do that.
Yeah.
Because he's like, that's the only way.
Yeah, pretty much.
And yeah, I love how in that episode he's like, so if I swim across the ocean, will I get to Europe?
Yeah, he's like, what's on the other side of that? They're like,
They're like,
Europe.
Europe.
So if I swim, and they're just like, don't swim to Europe, Charlie.
Yeah.
So they go to the Jersey Shore. This is what you referenced earlier. Dee and Dennis have sunscreen bottles that they've emptied out and filled tequila. But of course, Charlie tags along with them at first.
And he has one.
But
they're like, we didn't make one for you.
It's just sunscreen.
And he's like, yeah, I love how it makes me feel like, oh, like.
They're like, that's viscous chemicals, Charlie.
He's like, it's good. He's like, and they're on a really trashy beach in the Jersey Shore.
They're just like,
with a bunch of stray dogs.
They're just like, okay, whatever, Charlie. You want to go to the boardwalk?
Yeah.
But Charlie, that's where. Well, they go to the boardwalk, and they say, Charlie, you know where all the magic happens. We got to go under the boardwalk. And they go under the boardwalk, and they find like some homeless guy is banging, and they're disgusted by it.
And they scream.
And that's where Charlie's like, okay, fuck this. I'm going to do my own
on the
thing.
beach with a bunch of stray dogs.
So he goes and hangs with stray dogs, and skipping forward, Charlie
he ends up meeting the waitress.
He runs into the waitress,
and they actually have like a good time.
Yeah, but it turns out she was on ecstasy.
Yeah,
and credit to the show where like Charlie's a stalker, but he never goes too far with it because like they hang out for the night.
No,
and they wake up the next morning. And she's like, Charlie, you have to tell me everything that happened. He's like, oh, no, we just frolicked and collected specimens.
No, that's what I really like about Charlie. Like, he's crazy obsessed over her, but he's also...
not a...
No, but he's also, like, protective over... Well, in his way, like...
In his weird...
In that one episode where...
Not to defend him too much.
No, but he's, like, putting, like... He's, like, giving her, like, hair loss and stuff and, like, doing all this shit. Clogging up her sink just so...
I don't want to defend him too much,
she can rely on him.
He's still a stalker, which is.
But he's a genuine stalker.
He's a genuine one.
He's very innocent.
Yeah, but
he's the most innocent of the game.
My favorite part though of this episode is when so Mac and Frank go hang out on the beach, and Frank brings instead of alcohol, rum ham. Brings rum ham, so a ham that's been soaked in rum, so you eat your own alcohol.
Yeah, and. We actually had that for Thanksgiving. My mom helped me make that happen. It wasn't alcoholic, but it tasted good. It
was delicious.
It was like an orange. We used orange rum for like the glaze, and it was good. But yeah. And yeah, I love the whole moment where they're floating in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, there's too many stray dogs, so they go to sit in the ocean, but they pass out and get
needles.
stranded.
Yeah.
So they're in the middle of the ocean.
And then Frank loses rum ham.
Yeah.
And it's like the Wilson moment in Castaway.
Yeah.
And then after a little while, when it jumps back to them, Frank pulls the knife out and he's like, rum ham.
Well, he's like, because Mac is like, no worries, Frank.
And this is Fat Mac, too.
This is Fat Mac.
Which is one of my favorite versions of him.
So there's one point, so they're stranded in the ocean. And Mac's like, don't worry, Frank. I'm going to swim down. I'm going to spear us a tuna, and we're going to feast. Give me the knife. And Frank just goes like, I can't give you the knife.
Uh-huh.
What if we go into survival mode? And so Frank accidentally pierces the boat. And then, they're going to
But then a bunch of Guidos
show up on their yacht and rescue them. And they eventually find rum ham. So Frank and Mac just spend the whole night partying
with Guidos, getting spray tans
and steroids,
getting a steroid injection.
Yeah, and then Dee and Dennis
have a horrible experience.
Go on basically like a crackhead, like they rob a gas station with some people. And
guy gets killed,
shot.
Yeah,
and, they go, and they have to bury the body, and then they run off.
Oh, and we're forgetting about the moment leading up to that. They're on the boardwalk and they go on a ride to make themselves feel better, get adrenaline for the rest of the day or whatever their reasoning is. And they go on one of those tower rides, and Dee has her hair braided in kind of cornrows or whatever you call it, but it's heavily braided. And it's got beads and everything, and it gets caught in the machinery.
Yeah.
And Dee's all freaking out, and Dennis is like, I'm not going to put my hand in the machinery. And then it goes down, it pulls her hair out of her scalp. And then Dennis, they both start, like, she's freaking out. Dennis starts throwing up. Like, I love the grossed out stuff they do. And I always cringe when I see that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a great episode.
So they're at the hospital and they start partying with this lady and her friends, and they rob a gas station, and that's basically at the end of the episode.
And you're forgetting the bit where they're in the van. They're like, okay, where's the party? And and they hand him what appears to be a joint.
They're like, you're cool, smoke it.
And then he was, and then Dennis and Dee are like, this doesn't taste like weed. And they're like, it's angel dust.
Yeah. So then they go rob a gas station or a liquor store, I think, and people get murdered and all that sort of stuff. And I love just the funny part is at the end of the episode, because at the beginning of the episode it was Dee and Dennis who were like, Jersey Shore is amazing. Nobody else wants to go, but at the end of the episode, everyone else was like, we had a fantastic time.
Well, yeah, and
Dee and Dennis are like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Dee and Dennis were almost killed and saw a man get killed. And went to a drug doctor, a guy gets shot in the head and all this shit.
Yeah.
But then like Mac and Frank end up partying with a bunch of Guidos, having a great time. And then Charlie has this amazing, beautiful moment with the waitress, even though it's temporary, with the puppies and the fireworks and all that.
When
and his little
he's a little piece of glass.
Yeah,
like
but it's just a broken
broken glass bottle piece.
But he thinks it's
and the next morning, so he wakes up the waitress and she's like, "Oh, I need to go take a shower and leave me alone, Charlie." And he's like, "Well, hold on. I guess you want this back." And she's like, "What is that?" He's like, "It's a gem you gave me last night." She's like, "Charlie, that's a piece of a broken glass bottle."
And he pulls like a dead crab out too.
Yeah.
Like,
Suppose like, you think this
so
is
you
gross
think
now.
this is gross too? Yeah, that's
anyway,
great.
That's a good episode.
Before I get to my next episode, I want to talk about some of my honorable mentions, just a couple of them. So I have three technically from season 4.
Okay.
So I chose Nightman Cometh, but Mac and Charlie Die Part 1 and 2.
That's a good one. I chose not to put any Part 1s and 2s on my list, but
that's why it's in my honorable mentions.
There's a few that are really good.
But yeah. That one, Mac and Charlie fake their deaths. I forget the exact reasons. Mm-hmm. And you get great moments with them. Like Mac in the dress and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like the funeral and like
taking
Frank becomes like he replaces Charlie with like a mannequin dressed up as Charlie. Like all that great weird stuff. But yeah, that's a great 2-parter. I think it's the first 2-parter. And then and then you get Who Pooped the Bed.
That's a good old mystery. Artemis comes back from that.
Artemis is in that one. And yeah, the whole thing set up as a mystery thriller about who pooped the bed.
One of my honorable mentions, probably the earliest one we
Frank
have.
and Charlie's and if you don't know the show, Frank and Charlie live in a very derelict, tiny apartment together
and they're possibly father and son.
Possibly, and Frank's a millionaire, multimillionaire. He just wants to live in the filth and the squalor with Charlie.
One of my honorable mentions was from season 2. Actually, the only one for season 2 I thought about was Dee and Dennis Going Welfare.
Oh yeah,
that's a classic.
Well, now they kind of bring that arc a couple times.
So throughout the entire series, they show that Dee and Dennis are hooked on crack.
Yeah,
and they do keep going back on it here and there.
Yeah. The next one I have, because I don't have any other ones I don't have any from season 5, but Mac and Dennis break up. That could have definitely made my list.
Yeah.
You get obviously great moments with Mac and Dennis. It's focused on them.
Another one I thought about that I don't remember what season is in, but the gang squashes their beefs.
That season
they invite everyone
10,
over.
11?
It's like they invite everyone over. And
it's season 9, I believe.
Yeah, because this is when they burn down the apartment. And and this is when Cricket gets the
scars.
Another one I watched last night, which is really good, that I forgot even existed, was The Gang Goes on Family Fight.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That's a good episode.
And that's with Keegan-Michael Key as the Family Feud host. But Mac and Dennis break up. It's obviously focused on Mac and Dennis, but you get great moments with Dee. What's that noise?
Oh. My phone.
Oh, that was it. Okay. But You also get one of my favorite Charlie quotes ever. Dee, she has a cat and it somehow gets in her wall.
Oh,
Even though there's no openings and everything. And he's like, yeah, cats can squish down and all that. But then when she calls Charlie over and he has like a bag of cheese puffs with him the whole episode too. But she's like, I got a cat stuck in my wall or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, now you're talking my language.
yeah, I love that.
Because it's established that every night there's like 80 cats outside their apartments howling.
Yeah, cats just follow Charlie
And that's
home.
why they eat the cat food. Or I don't know. They eat the cat food to go to sleep.
Yeah, there's a weird...
So they feel gross and they have to go to
There's
and
a
they sleep
weird
ass to
explanation
ass.
for all that shit.
Also, I don't have any particular episode from season 3 I want to mention, but the first one with Frank where he brings back the strippers, but a lot of those where Frank is becoming an established character, those are all great. And the one where they like do the news thing
Yeah.
in season 3.
Oh, yeah.
That one's good. And I have one more I want to mention real quick before we get to yours. Do you have any season 6 ones?
I don't. Oh.
So the season 6 honorable mention is Who Got Dee Pregnant, which is the Halloween episode.
That is a great episode. That's the one where I was confusing with Mac just without question, just banging Margaret McPoyle.
That's the one.
Is the one where
Yeah.
he walks in, he's like, and she like appears behind him in the bathroom, and he's like, "Oh Jesus, where do you come from?" And then she's like, licks her lip, and he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." And then she like licks her lip again. He's like, "Okay, fuck it."
Yeah, because he's really drunk. And they talk about how they're browned up and also browned out. And Mac and Dennis were supposed to be Mario and Luigi, but Mac ended up being Aragorn. But he says Viggo Mortenstein.
Yeah, Viggo Morgenstein.
But he mispronounced it, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, that I can't remember the exact detail. Oh, you get this is the first one where Dee appears just as a straight up ostrich.
Oh yeah.
When they're recalling the event. But yeah,
as each of them recalls the event, it just gets drunker.
But I'll get to
and
my
becomes more bird-like.
I'll get to my last couple honorable mentions when it makes sense. But let's get to your next proper
My next proper one is from season 8, episode 9. Is The Gang Dines Out.
That's awesome because my next one's season 8.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
perfect.
that tells you something.
The Gang Dines Out. So this episode, it follows really three plot arcs. It starts with Dennis and Mac are going out for their monthly dinner at a nice Gugino's, whatever. How you pronounce it.
Gugino's, I think.
Yeah, at a nice Italian restaurant. So they're at their monthly dinner, and then Mac and Charlie come in to celebrate their anniversary of living together.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out Dee is also there because of a Groupon, but she's there by herself.
No. Not Mac and Charlie, Frank and Charlie.
Frank and Charlie, yeah, my bad.
It's Mac and Dennis that's just their annual dinner or
Mac
whatever
and
they're doing.
Dennis.
Their weekly thing. I don't know.
They're monthly.
Monthly. And yeah, that's a great
Frank
episode.
and Charlie come in for their
and of course, Frank's got his wig and
Yeah.
everything, and he's obviously being a gross old man to the hostess. And
most of the episode is them being very annoyed that the other ones are there. None of them know Dee is there at all. They have not noticed at all.
and she's there by herself.
And it's just a lot of they're going back and forth. Like Dennis is like to the waiter, let's send
Should I say something? Yeah.
let's send a glass of wine, your finest house red, over to that table. And Mac is like, "Oh, that was very nice." And Dennis is like, "Was it?" Because he only said one
it was
glass.
and it was a house red.
Yeah. and then Frank sends the nicest bottle.
Yeah, because
of
Frank's super
their
rich.
champagne
Yeah.
or whatever, and then they pour it out.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of the episode is the waiter.
Oh yeah,
Who's
I
waiting
don't
on
know the
all of
actor's name, but I've seen him in a few different things.
Yeah, and he's waiting on all of them, just being very annoyed by it all. And at the end, Dee ties his shoes laces together, and he trips and spills pasta over himself, and like legitimately hurts himself.
Yeah.
falling
On hot
and they're all
pasta.
like, "Who did that? Who tied his?"
Dee was like,
And she reveals herself.
I did it. And they're all just laughing.
And he's on the ground like, "Guys, I'm really actually hurt."
But yeah, you get amazing character moments from everyone in that episode. Charlie and Frank is great, but like Mac and Dennis.
Oh,
I love the whole bit where Mac keeps reminding Dennis that he wore two different colognes.
Two different colognes. That and Mac was like, I need to talk about you. The other day, I said I wanted a karaoke machine for the apartment. And you laughed in my face.
Yeah.
And then of course this has the meme moment. Of Mac and Charlie locking eyes from across the room.
Yeah.
And Dennis is like, don't look over them. And he's like, it's Charlie. He's looking straight at me.
I think we did that at the dining hall one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for some reason I sat at a different table because I didn't know where you were, so I just sat at a table and then I saw you
across the room, just locking eyes.
Yeah, that episode is absolutely an S tier.
That's a very good episode. Yeah,
you get and Dennis does his weird freaking speech about Mac, but Mac doesn't understand that it's about him.
Yeah.
And
they're abusing the fact that it's a troop there. Like so they're using that as an excuse.
You get the whole and I love the whole bit with D. The waiter's like, if you order faster, you won't feel as bad for being late. She's like, I'll order when I goddamn want to.
And there's a one point where there's a guy walking past. She's like, you.
And she's just,
you need to sit down. Help me. I'm being watched. And then the waiter comes by and she's just like, oh, why don't we order?
And this guy was like, we got a situation here. Like, what?
She's like, oh, just don't forget about that. Let's order an appetizer. She just doesn't want to be there alone.
Yeah, I love Caitlin Olsen. But yeah, that's an absolute classic.
That's a good one.
I don't just watch it. Just watch these episodes. It's all on Hulu if you have that.
Season 8, episode 9. That's a good one.
Yep. So my next one is also season 8.
Nice.
So I chose season 8, episode 3, the Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre.
I did watch that the other day. Yeah,
that's one of my personal favorites. It's one of the more experimental episodes.
Yeah, they do something. They change up the formula a little.
Change up the formula. They're in custody. They're talking to a detective, and they're recalling the events. It's Frank, Mac, Charlie, and Dennis, and it involves the sorry for stuttering. The McPoyles.
Yeah,
they're an important part, and Maureen Ponderosa, and also Bill. What's his name?
Bill Ponderosa.
Bill Ponderosa, who's just a horrible Ponzi. Yeah, and Frank's like his sponsor.
His AA sponsor.
Yeah,
and Bill's like,
I really feel like I could have some beers now, but it's a dry wedding.
And Frank's like,
why maybe I could do some drugs.
Why are you telling me that? He's like, because here's my sponsor. He's like, oh, I think it's a good idea, Bill. I think you earned it.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole and the beginning bit where they're riding in the bus and Charlie's like, why would they have a wedding in the middle of the woods like this? And on Friday the 13th, that's a monster day.
It's a monster day. I like there's a part where they're like, so in the episode, the milk gets spiked with bath salts.
Yeah.
So people are acting crazy. And there's at one point where Charlie's like, they were built by vampire bats.
And then, no. Oh, well, here, I recently, so yeah, Charlie's like, maybe it's the vampire bat that D sucked out or whatever because she gets bit by one.
Yeah.
And then she has like Frank suck it out of her forehead or whatever. Or no, she sucks it out of Frank's forehead because Frank got bit.
Yeah.
And it's really awkward and weird. But and then him and Mac are arguing over it, and they're like, Mac's like, no, that would turn you into a vampire. And then Charlie said, or Batman. And then Mac's like, Batman didn't get turned into anything. He's
like, are you telling me that Batman's just a guy that dresses
He's like, these are Academy Award winning movies, Mac. And Mac's like, you and I know the Academy as well as anyone.
Yeah. So you're telling me that just Batman is just some guy that dresses up like a bat?
I love that little bit. But yeah. And Guillermo del Toro makes an appearance as Pappy McPoyle.
Oh, yeah. I forget.
And you get to see the extended family of the McPoyles, which is great. Liam and Ryan McPoyle are both great in this episode. Like Liam comes in the middle of the night and it's just Dee and Frank at the bar, And like he tells him this whole scheme because Frank wants to break up the wedding just to fuck with Dennis, basically. Because Dennis wants the wedding to happen.
Because he's paying alimony.
Yeah, so he doesn't
Maureen.
pay alimony. Yeah.
And at the end where so Dennis ends up sleeping with Maureen. And then
because
because the whole episode is told from like they're being interviewed by the police.
Yeah.
So and then they go like, "Oh, Mr. Reynolds, you are free to go. Your bail's been posted."
Yeah.
And Maureen comes in. He's like, "No."
Yeah.
No.
And he sleeps with her because he goes to get her to sign his paperwork to release him of the alimony payments.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what it's called, but and she had her
she
had plastic surgery on her breast. And he's like, "Maureen, you've really changed yourself. You've enhanced your breasts." He's like, "Maureen, you've enhanced yourself." And she's like, "Yeah, I got my tooth fixed." And he's like, "No, I'm talking about your whopping breasts."
And he's like, "I didn't know you would want to change for me."
She said I would,
or she's like, "I said I would change for you."
I really,
and he's like, "I didn't think you mean like your breasts."
I can't remember the actress' name, but she's in this new show about like moms or whatever, and I've heard it's actually pretty good. I forget what it's called, but I would like to check that out. But and yeah, she's a fun reoccurring character. And then Charlie and Mac think it's just straight up zombies.
Yeah, well, I like also the part where Dee attacks them and they're telling the story about like as if she's a zombie, and then she comes in finally because they locked her in the freezer.
Yeah.
And the police rescue her, and she's like, "No, I attacked you because of what you did to my car, because it's her brand new car."
They always wreck her car in this show.
And they got into the car. Charlie's driving and immediately drive it into like a tree or a pole or whatever it is. And they get out, and I remember Mac's like, "What happened?" And Charlie's like, "I forgot."
Because Mac's like, "Do you know how to drive? Do you have your license?" Charlie's like, "Don't worry about it." And like he just immediately
crashes it, and then Charlie's like, "I forgot how to drive."
Yeah. And Charlie gives the Jaws speech.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, "It's got black eyes like a doll's eyes." And then the riving and the screaming and the hollering. And then Dennis is like, "Are you doing a Jaws thing?"
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah. But yeah, that episode's great. It's crazy. It's wild. It's not a normal Always Sunny episode, but I would definitely recommend it. It's also season 8, I think, or either season 7 is like the first of the HD Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Looks a lot nicer. It doesn't look like it was filmed on a potato, which I kind of admire that.
Yeah, those
about the earlier seasons, but
yeah,
it's not in 4:3 framing anymore. It's widescreen. It's prettier looking. But yeah, that episode is it's great. It's chaotic. It's crazy. You get great McPoyle moments. And each member of the gang gets to shine. And I love they walk in. You have this like weird quartet, McPoyle's like playing a cello and violin, like weird, creepy music.
Yeah.
And like them just being generally weird even before they get on the bath salts. And Charlie and Mac are just standing there, and Mac is just all of a sudden he's just like, "We could totally get laid here." And Charlie's like, "What?" Yeah. And you just get a lot of great moments. And Liam and Ryan McPoyle really get the shine in this. I think it's the first time, the last time they appear in the series. Oh no, before the gang squashes beef. That's the last one, I believe.
Yeah.
Because then you have the McPoyle court case. I forget what it's called. But one of the other McPoyles has to represent Liam. Or no, Ryan for losing his eye and all that. Liam. But Maureen Ponderosa Wedding Massacre, season 8, episode 3. It's great. I love it.
Gang squashes their beef is in season 9.
That's season 9, yeah. But yeah, great episode.
That was a good one. My next episode I picked was season 9, episode 3. The gang tries desperately to win an award.
That's also one of my favorites.
This is the good one with the Patty's Pub theme in it.
Cause I like
the world's
Patty's
yeah, they say
Pub.
the world's your oyster. And then,
Yeah, he
and
does
then
like
sings
this
the spider song. at the
Randy
end.
Newman.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this is the weakest one out of the ones on my list so far.
I don't think so.
But I think it's a
defend it. You
I
don't
think
have
it's a
to.
good one. Yeah.
That's my ringtone. It's the Metal Gear Solid.
You know, I had
alert.
that as a text alert for a while.
I don't. You guys probably didn't hear it, but
I had that as a text alert for a while, and every time my phone would go off, I would have a mini heart attack. So I just stopped having that as a text alert.
But yeah, I think that's a great episode, and the whole point of it's the fact that Always Sunny's never been nominated for like an Emmy. It's never been like formally recognized, but then they basically just say "F you" to the establishment, to Hollywood, and they go to the popular bar, and it's basically they're comparing themselves to like typical sitcoms, especially of that era, like Big Bang Theory.
The manager is Oscar from The Office.
Yeah, it is Oscar. And see, I love The Office, and I watched some of it, but I wasn't obsessed with it or didn't follow it, but because I watched Always Sunny first. So when I saw Oscar the first time in that, I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But now going back, I'm like, oh, that's Oscar from The Office,
I remember.
And Frank offers him an egg.
Yeah. But it's not like it's not even like a hard-boiled egg.
I think it is.
I don't think it even was like a hard-boiled egg. It was just like a regular egg that was painted green.
Oh, yeah, it was, just a green,
green egg. So they try to make Penny's Pub more like this other bar, and they try to do the will they won't they behind the bar.
Will they won't wait?
And tell jokes. And there's one point, so they had a bunch of people over.
Super bright lights and colors, and like friendly and like.
I just remember there's one part I just really loved that was like, this lady comes out of the bar. She's like, "Can I get a drink?" And Mac just comes in, kind of a little bit too late. "Hey there, my name's Mac. We always recommend to our newcomers the Caribbean Paradise or whatever it is. Some will say it's like busting a nut."
She's like, "Excuse me?"
And he just repeats it. It's like busting. Yeah. And he has to like explain himself. Yeah. And then like 30 seconds later, D slides in and goes, "Not like Max ever." And then they're all like, fucking too late.
She's got a ton of makeup caked on her face and all the lights. And then, you get Charlie's theme. But then and it's a good, it's a nice, wholesome theme. But then they don't like it for some reason. They don't think it's cool enough or something. They log in the basement. But while he's in the basement, this is all going on, he's huffing a lot of paint. And he gets out. He like crawls in through the vent. Or I can't. Well,
before this happens, so it's like everything's going wrong. And they're like, "Okay, let's go into the back room. Have some champagne and stuff." And they go open the door. And it's like Frank and Artemis like.
Doing a weird burlesque.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what they're doing.
Yeah, because Frank went to a burlesque bar that won a bunch of awards or something. Yeah. He was like, "It should be like that." But then Charlie comes out with clearly a large amount of silver paint on his nose and mouth. And he's like, "I'm going to sing the song." And
they're like, "Yeah, the song."
They're like, "Okay, that could actually help, the situation because they're doing horrible." But then
there's the spiders. They're deep in my soul. It's actually also like a not bad song.
And then towards the end, he's just like, "Go fuck yourselves." And also, they do have some like racial jokes in there. They get a couple black guys in the bar, and they're like,
"Yeah, they want to be racially inclusive." So they
but at the same, but Dennis is like, but then Mac is like, "But we don't want people to think we're a black bar, right?"
Yeah, because they're like, "He's really aggressive, so we should probably get another more out his aggressiveness." And they're like, "But we don't need too many." But also, like when Charlie's like, "Go fuck yourself" in the song, it's him who's like,
he's like, he's like, "Damn, that's awesome." But yeah, I totally agree.
And then they start spitting on everyone.
And also, I love
because Charlie says, "Go fuck yourself" in the song, and then starts spitting.
And then they all in unison.
The rest of the group always go, "Is that the sign? Is that?" And then they all start spitting on everyone and try everyone out.
Yeah, and I love, and so I know the other bar they're comparing themselves to like mainstream sitcoms.
Yeah.
Basically. But at the same time, I've been to those kinds of bars where it's like fancy, colorful. They got all kinds of crazy mixed drinks and all that. It's kind of like Applebee's style mixed drinks where it's a gimmick.
I generally don't like those types of bars.
And honestly, I prefer bars more like Patty's Pub. Just
I like
down to earth.
I like dive bars.
Yeah, dive bar. J-Bo's is kind of that.
I'm there to drink, not to feel socially acceptable.
Yeah, I'm there to drink and have fun with my mates and, not worry about, oh, am I dressed the right way? Or,
Yeah.
oh, do I have to pay $15 for a cocktail? All that stuff. And there's all the gimmicks and like, oh, we're ringing a bell for you down your drink. And I love how when they're ordering, it's a little minor detail, but I believe it's D, Mac, and Dennis at the bar. Mm-hmm. And they're analyzing the bartender and they're like, oh, they have a will they, won't they thing and all that. But then he tells them about their Caribbean paradise. Mm-hmm. And it's like a big, bowl. And the bartender's like, oh, well, that's actually recommended for 3 people to share. And Dennis, they're just like, we want 3 damn drinks.
I drink the entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finish the whole thing.
And then they do the ringing the bell thing where it's like, everyone drink. And they're like, don't tell me when to drink. I'll drink on my own time.
Well, it's another one of my...
But I also, I kind of despise that kind of stuff too.
It's like another one of my honorable
I don't need a
mentions.
gimmick at a bar.
Another honorable mention that reminds me of is when they go to the gin bar.
I forget which episode.
And Dennis is just like, God damn it, like,
I hate gin.
I hate gin. It's overpriced. I'm just going to a bar to drink shit that I hate. And then the guy turns to him and shushes him.
Oh, that's a great one. I forget what it's called.
And then the rest of the episode is like, did he just shush me?
Yeah.
So they want to track him down and shush him.
No, I mean, I think we would both agree. We like bars where we can be loud and frenetic and just be ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is, I wouldn't recommend it, but...
No.
Well, I mean, be yourself, but don't be like us. Don't start a podcast. Don't do it. I know you're tempted because everyone's doing it. Don't do it. Or do it if you really want to. And if you have something to say. Just don't do anything. Or do anything. I don't know. Anyways, my next episode is season 9, episode 7.
Okay.
And it's one of my go-tos. The gang gets quarantined.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is a good
very
one.
topical now.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I know they are doing a COVID episode for this next season.
Fun.
Which will probably be a sequel of sorts to this one.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing that lately where they'll redo the same kind of idea. But yeah, the gang gets quarantined. This is obviously a bottle episode.
Yeah.
It's just the gang. There's no
classic,
other characters.
This is the classic episode that at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone was posting the meme of Frank or Danny DeVito covered in hand sanitizer.
That scared me.
Whatever. Danny DeVito and hand sanitizer?
Well, that, yeah. But whatever your girlfriend's watching scared me. Because I heard it and it was like a scream.
But Danny DeVito and the hand sanitizer just being like, I just want to be
pure.
Clean, pure. Yeah.
But yeah, that episode, it's the flu. There's a big flu outbreak. And it, obviously really applies to COVID now. And I'm sure they're doing one. But Frank makes them quarantine, and Frank's really obsessive about it to the point of insanity. And at the same time, Dennis, D, and Mac, and Charlie, so everyone but Frank, they're practicing they're trying to open up or like impress Boys to Men at their concert.
Yeah.
And they're like practicing the harmonies and everything.
They're
and that's
doing, like their acapella group shit.
Yeah, acapella. And Dennis is obsessing over that, obviously. And he's a perfectionist and but Dennis ends up being the first one that's quarantined.
Yeah.
I think just because
he like sneezes or something like that, and Frank just locks him up.
No, because he tried to order pizza.
Oh, right. But, yeah.
I think it's something like that. And there's a great line, because I just watched this one, where Dennis is like joking around on the phone. He's like, huh? Oh, you said Spider-Man? That's funny. And later on, Charlie's like, Dennis is Spider-Man? And Dee's like, no one's Spider-Man.
Because they all start developing symptoms like they're sick. And then it turns out.
Well, wait. I don't want to get to that yet. But, so Dennis is the first one quarantined in the bathroom, which is probably the worst place you would want to be, in that dirty bathroom, with tile and it's all cold and horrible. But
yeah, Frank's just throwing them in the bathroom.
Yeah, but at the same time, Charlie is trying to come up with outfits for the gang for their performance, he gets confused, and he thinks they're all going to be in the same outfit, as in they're all going to be in one outfit together. And he's like, should we line up side by side, or should someone be on top? Like, I'm a little confused. And Mac's like, no, we're going to wear matching outfits. And he was like, that's okay, but I think this could really...
Yeah, but at that point, he's kind of attached to the idea.
Yeah. And then Dee's like she's trying to do like a gimmick. She's like doing her stuttering. She's like, I'm a Midwestern wife with a husband. He died from a mouth cancer from eating too much bad.
Is this the episode where Mac and Charlie go out in like the hazmat
They
suits?
go out in the hazmat suits that Charlie's mom made for him. That's Charlie and his mom's hazmat suits with like bobblehead. And
there's like, you can put beer in it.
Charlie's has that.
Yeah.
Because that's his mom's. It has a beer slot.
Right.
For it, or just alcohol slot. And he has a beer bottle sticking on his head. And I love in that whole bit where they go to... Then they're going to get like oranges and snow crabs or whatever Frank approves.
Yeah.
And Mac is doing like his moves. And Charlie's like, wait, what was that? And Mac was like, oh, I'm kind of working out a thing. And then he falls and like rips his suit. And they're like, breach! And... they come back, and while that's happening, Frank catches Dee eating pizza and drinking beer in the vent.
Oh, right. So he locks her up.
With Dennis, and the whole time Dennis he looks horrible.
Yeah.
And Dee is like, you might need to go to the hospital. Like, you look awful. And he's like, do I really look awful? And he just holds out a note. He's like,
He's like, if I look awful, tell me why I can't do this. Why I can do this.
And then eventually it comes out that Mac was breached, so he gets thrown in.
Yeah.
And Frank, he starts talking about, he's like, all this hair that we have catches all the bacteria. I just want to be pure. And then eventually, it's just Charlie and Frank. Charlie's like eating peanuts, and like Frank's like focusing on his beard, so he tries to shave him. And so Charlie just goes in the bathroom himself. He's like, "Oh, I feel fine." Frank was just being really weird.
Yeah.
But then they're all sick and throwing up, and they realize it's because not because they had the flu, but because they had alcohol withdrawals.
Yeah, and Charlie has a bleach bottle with like...
Well, and the reason he was the last one to get sick,
in it.
because he was the last one to be quarantined, so he was still drinking.
Yeah.
But the rest of them went a couple hours without drinking and started getting alcohol withdrawals. They addressed
this later in the series, so they do on the Christian cruise episode, and it's a dry cruise that they're all on.
Yeah.
And they're all complaining like it's a dry cruise. And Mac is like, yes, it's a dry cruise, but we're all probably going to have to take about a shot of mouthwash every day to scare off the shivers.
But yeah, and they all end up throwing up, but Charlie's like, wait, and then he has bottles of bleach, and like Dennis like, you can't drink bleach, and all that. He's like, no, it's got like grain alcohol in it or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And they drink that, and they're like, oh, we feel fine.
Yeah.
But then they come out, and they can't find Frank anywhere, but they see a trail of hand sanitizer slime. And this might be as good as Frank crawling out of the couch in the nude on that Christmas episode. but which is great. And the Christmas episode, that could be an honorable mention.
That is a good one.
It's the only Christmas episode they've done, but it's honestly a classic with Charlie freaking out with Santa Claus. Like, did you fuck my mom? We'll post this because it's beautiful. It's Frank in his tidy whities, completely bald, no hair, covered in hand sanitizer.
Just going, I just want to be pure.
And they have to take him to the hospital because he has to get scrubbed down because he's like basically poisoned from the hand sanitizer, heavily contaminated. And the doctor is like very hairy, and Frank's like, shit. But before the doctor comes in to clean him up or whatever, they do their rehearsal and their outfits for Boys to Men. But yeah, that's one of my go-to episodes. And the main reason I love especially now it's relevant because of COVID and quarantine stuff. But even besides that, it's just the gang.
Yeah.
At their best. Just by themselves. It's simple. You really just get to see great character moments. And here's what I think makes a good Always Sunny episode. Charlie's got to be very Charlie.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Dennis has to be just a control freak and narcissist. And he usually always is. But he really is in this one. I think Dee, she doesn't really shine as much in this one. But she's still really good. She works well with him. Max, good with Charlie. But then Frank, you always got to have a gross out moment with Frank. And you get that here. But yeah, Gang Gets Quarantined, Season 9, Episode 7. I would definitely recommend. It's one of my favorites.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have one more on my list. Season 11.
Oh, you've only got one more?
Yeah.
I've got a couple more.
Yeah, I think we skipped you on one of them. We didn't go totally.
Before we get to yours, my last two honorable mentions are from the same season, Season 7.
Okay.
So Season 7, Episode 1, which honestly should have been in my top 5, but I didn't think of it at the moment. Frank's Pretty Woman.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you first get Fat Mac.
Mm-hmm.
You get the whole moment where Frank is like, can I offer you an egg in this trying time? And Charlie, he takes all the blood capsules.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's like trying to be like the rich, like
he's like, I must have been poisoned by my
constituents. So you get great moments from them. And whoever, I don't know the actress, but the lady playing the prostitute, she calls Dennis a baby dick or whatever.
Yeah.
And like they go to this fancy clothing store, her and Dee. And Dee's like really impressed that she can afford it and like she's making all this money. But then she's like, oh wow, you're living actually a way more sophisticated life than I thought. And she's like, all right, help me dig these crack rocks out of my ass. And then they go to their client, and it's the same guy from a previous episode, the gang tailgates or whatever.
Yeah,
and
he plays Donovan
she's
McNabb
like,
in that.
Yeah, but he's like playing Tiger Woods in this one. And it's revealed that he just wants to like look at her feet, basically.
Yeah.
And Dee's like, really? And he was like, why don't you take your shoes off and we play around a bit? Because Dee has enormous feet.
See what happens, yeah.
But yeah, I love that episode. And then also the same season, which is another Frank-centered episode, Frank's Little Beauties.
Oh, yeah.
That episode's amazing. With Frank, he's got a bloody nose the whole time. And he's freaking out because he doesn't want people to think he's a diddler. But he has to go through with the pageant because he's already like paid for it or something.
Yeah,
I can't
he has
remember.
to go through with it, but he's trying to not seem like.
But it's revealed that the not the what do you call it? The scout, not the talent scout.
The guy that's there to investigate.
Yeah, he actually is the diddler, the pedophile. But you get the moment where Frank is like in the heavy makeup from the mortician.
Yeah.
And he's like, just to clarify, I'm not a diddler.
God.
Like, it's great. And you get the moment where Mac, Charlie, and Dennis, like they put on their performance, like the weird synth thing.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that weird one boy in the pageant. They're like, you know what? I bet he never gets to win because he's a boy. And like, they do the Yankee Doodle remix.
Yeah.
And then
It
Dee
gets really weird. At a
Dee
few
gets
times.
great moments with the one girl. She's like, we're going to show your mom that she's a stupid bitch. And she's like, that was a lot of cursing. And she's like trying to do her homework there. And she's like, yeah, don't worry about that. Listen to me. I'm the adult. And Dee does like the mom stink. And I love that moment because it's so cringy and it's so Dee. But yeah, Frank's Little Beauties.
That's a fun one. The last one on my list is season 11, episode 5 is Mac and Dennis move to the suburbs.
That is such an amazing episode.
So they've been living in Dee's house or apartment.
Yeah.
And they make a bet with Frank because they're looking for a place and they find a place in the suburbs and they make a bet with Frank where Frank says they can't last a month living in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And if they lose the bet, they have to sleep with an old man for a year.
And if they win the bet, Frank will pay for a year's rent.
Yeah.
Or something like, yeah.
Yeah. So and at the end of the episode, they do win the bet, but they can't stand living in the suburbs anymore. So they ended up sleeping with an old black man.
One of my favorite reoccurring characters.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah. It's just old man.
Old man.
They have this whole discussion about it. Like,
yeah. Well, there's a great part where in The Gang Turns Black where they're trying to find him, but they don't want to like use the terminology and describe him as a black man. So they're talking to another guy and they're like, he's old. And he's like, oh, you mean old black man. He's right over there.
And I love that episode, honestly. I should have included it. That's the best of season 12.
Yeah, that's a really
and
good
also the
episode.
water park one.
That is a good one.
Season
too,
12 is actually pretty legit for the new ones.
Season 12 is good.
I love it. But
so they start living in the suburbs, and it quickly takes on the role of like Mac is like the domestic housewife.
a lot of memes come from this one, too.
Yeah, and he's the domestic housewife, and he's cooking every day. He cooks Mac's famous mac and cheese. but they're all like they're bothered by
They're
this.
just going
Dennis
insane.
he can't sleep because of the pool filter.
Yeah.
is making noise, and Matt can't sleep because of the
And also,
a fire alarm is making that chirping noise. And
Yeah.
I love at the end where they finally break and they're yelling at each other. He's like, "How do you not hear that chirping?" And Dennis
He's
is like, "Newsflash, asshole! I've been hearing it the whole time." And he's like, "Why didn't you say anything?" He's like, "Because I hate you."
I love it when Dennis just completely loses it. Because Dennis is always trying to be like the charismatic, like intelligent one.
Yeah,
but then he'll
actually,
just
like, a total
lose his
sociopath.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then they get a dog. And
and Mac just lets it die because he doesn't feed it ever.
he just doesn't care.
Um,
And he's like, I'm going to name it Dennis.
yeah.
And he's like, okay, weird. But he's like, he'll keep you company while I'm at work. But then
the MVP of the episode, Wally, their neighbor.
Wally the neighbor.
It's like, boy, it's a hot one.
I actually looked at the Always Sunny character tier list, and he's in that tier list, even though he's in one episode. He's like, boy, it's a hot one. And Dennis is like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how they're like standing him up, like squaring him up. Because they're used to living in the city, you know.
Yeah. Well, the first time he comes up, he's like, "Man, hey, neighbor, you must be the new neighbors."
And they're just like, just staring at him.
Well, it's a hot one. Well, okay, I'll see you later. And then they turn to each other and are like, yeah, I was just like ready for him to like pull a knife on me. I was ready to just get him. Like,
yeah, that episode is amazing. And they have no idea how to like Mac tries to install TV and it's like a drywall. He's like, oh yeah, I missed the stud a couple times. And they just do not know how to have a house. And yeah, it's just great. And then the rest of the gang does show up a little bit for dinner.
yeah, and Frank and Charlie are wearing these.
They're
Russian
doing a
hats.
Russian hat thing, and like
But
Mac
they won't
and
explain it to
Mac
him.
and Dennis are really upset that they don't know about it. They're not in on it too.
Yeah.
Because they're wearing these Russian hats.
Like, why are they wearing Russian hats? They want to explain it to us. Like, I need to know.
We never know.
No, we never find out why they were wearing the Russian hats.
Yeah. I love that. And you get every part where like Dennis is driving all the way to work.
Yeah.
And his road rage is like, you fat cow.
I just love at the end when they snap. Oh, and then at the end when Dennis goes to get a sleeping bag or whatever because he's gonna leave. So he opens the cabinet and like a bunch of like Kraft mac and cheese boxes fall out, and he's like, Mac's famous mac and cheese.
And then when the last time they have it, or when they really break, he's like, oh, and Mac's like, didn't you notice what I did with it? And Dennis like, you put meat chunks in it. Wow. Like, and then Mac is like, well, of course you would like it. It's Dennis.
No.
And he's just like, what? He's like, it's Dennis, the dog, or whatever he says.
He says he put the dog in it.
Yeah.
I mean, just even like how quickly it does start to break down, like within like the third day.
Yeah.
It's like they're eating the mac and cheese, and Mac is like, how was work today? And Dennis just picks up the plate and throws it down the hallway.
Yeah. I love it. And I love when he has the pool guy over.
Yeah.
And then Dennis is just like, he's like, come over here. And they're just like right in the other room or whatever. And, like,
he's like, you didn't tell me we're going to have company.
But yeah, that is an amazing episode. That is honestly one I probably would have included if you didn't already pick it.
Yeah, that is one of my favorites. That's a really
so I have two more. So I have the Gang Beats Boggs, which is
I almost put this one in mine. Yeah,
the whole point of this episode, they're trying to beat Wade Boggs' record for drinking the most beers on a cross country flight from Philadelphia to LA.
Yeah, like 5 hours or something like that.
Yeah, 5 or 7 hours, something like that. But and it is true, and I've seen the interviews. Charlie, in an interview with I think Jimmy Fallon, they were talking about that episode, and Charlie was like, he actually told me it was more because they say, oh, he drank more than 70 beers on this cross country flight, and then he batted 3 home runs or whatever the next morning against the Dodgers, I think. But then Charlie in the interview was like, he told me that it was actually like 105 light beers, but still, that is absolutely insane. So that's the premise. They're trying to beat that record. They have a game of it. They're all wearing white t-shirts. Mac lost whatever they did before.
Yeah,
I
so
forgot
he's the
what
referee.
It was. So he is the ref. So he has to be sober. But that episode is great. They're just contained on this plane. Charlie's like really casual about it. He's like, whatever, I'm just drinking beer. Like,
I just love this one.
And he gets a whole chicken.
I love this one for the nightmare it would be to be a flight attendant.
Oh my
with the
God.
gang on your flight.
And then Frank is like flirting with the flight attendant and like says he's a doctor, Mantis Toboggan MD.
Yeah.
And Dennis is trying to bang a chick for the Mile High Club. And the original one, he's like, yeah, she was married and she's like the hot one or whatever. And then he ends up with this like white trash lady, and and like she crushes a pill and snorts it, and she's like goes to kiss him. He's like, no. But and then Dennis figures out. First, he assumes that she is North Dakota trash.
Yeah, she's actually desert trash.
Cause he was like, I didn't see the gecko tattoo. She's like, yeah, we actually have a tilapia farm in the Salton Sea. He's like, oh. And then he leaves the flight when they land in North Dakota.
He's like, I'm
and
just
that
gonna leave.
later on appears in episodes, the ramifications of that. But yeah, a great episode. I mean, and Charlie sees Wade Boggs in his vision because he's drinking so much he's hallucinating. And Dee, she ends up passing out, but then she pops in some pills and she's like back in the game.
Yeah,
and she sees the guy from Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hogg, because she gets it confused or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's great. And then at the end, like Mac is like rushing him out at the airport. They're both just completely plastered.
And
then Dee falls over on the treadmill for the luggage.
The
or whatever
luggage
you call it.
claim.
Luggage claim. She falls over on that, which is great. And but then Charlie, he's like, do baseball, do or whatever he's saying. He's like, hot dog.
So he pitches it and he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, he knocks it out of the park his first hit. And
Mac's like, I'll be honest, I don't want to go get that.
because it's supposed to get like 3 through 3.
Yeah. And then Charlie's like,
What do now?
What do now?
California, USA. And then Mac's like, and Charlie's like, do they have chicken? Oh no, Mac's like, you want to go back to Philly? It's kind of dreary here. And Charlie's like, they have chicken in Philly? It's like they have chicken in Philly. But yeah, that's amazing.
That's really
and Frank, he there's this one kid that orders a single beer, this like college kid. And Frank was like, yeah, I was a alma mater in 1966 and all this shit. And then he drugs them with sleeping pills. And Dennis, because he falls over and they're freaking out, we need a doctor. And Dennis like, how much you put in there? He's like, I don't know, 12?
12. I don't know.
But yeah, that's an amazing episode. And they did a new version. I don't know if you've seen it.
Have not yet.
It's season 13, I believe.
Nice.
They do the female version. Dee's trying to redo it, but she's like, this is the girl version.
Yeah.
And but then Artemis is like, no, it's gotta be gross. And like and then Frank is there.
Of course.
He's waiting in the bathroom.
Yeah, why not?
He's like, flies to the slaughter. Like, but in that same way, they bring the waiter back a lot in the newer seasons, which is great.
Nice.
And also another honorable mention, the Super Bowl episode.
Oh, yeah.
And the one that goes with it, the one where Charlie is alone and it's like a Home Alone, but then he ends up like stepping in a bear trap. That's great.
I forgot about that.
But that episode in the end is actually really cathartic and really beautiful in a way, because when they made that, because at least Rob McKinley, right? McKinley. He is from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And he does have a connection, and he does like the Eagles. And that's the first time the Eagles won the Super Bowl in a super freaking long time.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of that episode, like they're all cheering on, and they show footage of real Philadelphians like
nice
freaking out, and it's playing the Rocky music.
That's cool.
And even at the end of that episode, it shows Rob McKinley and Caitlin Olsen at the game.
Nice.
And it's like this Philadelphia episode, which I think is pretty cool when they do that kind of thing every once in a while.
It's also just a good episode, too.
No, it really is.
Yeah.
So that's another honorable mention, I guess.
Green Man episode. Green
Man's in it, but it's not Charlie.
No.
It's Rickety Cricket posing as Green Man.
Yeah.
So you can get it. And I love any of the Green Man ones. And my last one that I picked out, and I think we both want to clarify that we just like the show so much. We have so many favorite episodes.
We figured it'd be time we finally
really
do an
hard
episode
to
talking about it.
Yeah, and it's really hard to boil it down to this, but as you can see, we could just, I don't know how long we've been recording, but we could keep going forever talking about this show.
We've got time for one more.
So my last my last one. It's a newer one. Season 13, episode 2.
Okay.
The Gang Escapes.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that one, yeah.
That one, I was like,
That's
okay,
a good
they
one.
still know how to make a good
Yeah.
bottle episode, because it's a bottle episode as well.
Yeah.
Dee introduces them to escape room thing, and they have the lady from the company, and like Dennis tries to flirt with her a bit in the beginning. He's like, is it a sexual thing? And she's like, no. And he was like, then I don't know what it is. And this in season 13, it's when Mac is ripped. Rob McKinley got ripped.
Yeah. Super ripped.
So that's a part of it, and he's like trying to get attention from it, and they don't care. They're like, just choose.
I mean, respect to Rob McKinley for being willing to do the superhero like workout routine to get ripped
like when he gained all that weight, he gained like 60 pounds in 3 months.
Yeah, and then
lost it in like another 5 months.
Yeah. I mean, he's dedication.
He's like Christian Bale when it comes to body transformations. All for this show, which I really admire it because it shows he really cares. And also when he got fat, he wanted the whole gang to gain weight. Yeah. But they did not agree on it, obviously. That would have been funny, honestly. But yeah, the gang escapes. So they do an escape room at Mac and Dennis's apartment. Mm-hmm. And so many great moments in this one, honestly. So Dee, she's the one that wants to do it. She wants to prove that she's good at stuff and that she can escape and that she's better and smarter than them. But they immediately lock her into Dennis's room. Like Dennis, and he has it locked where you can't get out. Like, and he has this whole crazy thing. And they're just not paying attention to any of the instructions. And I love how they immediately form packs. And like it's Mac and Dennis versus Frank and Charlie.
That's like their instinct as a group when they find situations like that is to split up and form alliances.
And Charlie gives Frank, because Frank's really stressed out about the whole thing, he gives him Big League Chew.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like smacking the whole time. And Dennis is really annoyed about it. And Frank is like, he's like, the top cow is the one that grazes the most or whatever. And that's a reoccurring thing in this one. And then Dee is talking to the lady over the radio, over the walkie. And she was like, maybe if you tell them that you could help them, that the clues to get out, they would let you back in. And she was like, no, they're just going to listen to what I say and then, keep me locked in here. And then she eventually tells the lady, she's like, you know what? They're going to get frustrated in a couple minutes and just start breaking your shit. And that's exactly what they do. They're just breaking all the shit.
Get frustrated and start breaking.
Yeah, they're going to get frustrated and start breaking stuff. And then, so Frank and Charlie find the key.
Mm-hmm.
They find the key. And then Mac and Dennis find the lock, the heart-shaped lock. And and then eventually Dennis sends in Mac, and Dennis like threatens to scratch him and stuff, and that's happened before in the series. But Dennis sends in Mac to talk with Frank and Charlie, and he asks for the gum, and they just have a great interchange there. And he's like, yeah, order the deal. And they're all smacking. They're like, and they're like, if you go back empty-handed, Dennis is going to scratch the shit out of you. And then he ends up getting scratched by Dennis. And then I love how they have the summit at the table, and they all have whiskey and you're smoking cigar. No, not cigars, like corncob pipes or something. And they're all chewing the gum, and they're like, agreed, and they just start smacking the table. I love that episode. It's actually... I
haven't watched that in a while.
You should watch that one again. I would consider it a classic, honestly. And then eventually, Dee's stuck in Dennis's room, and he has it trapped, and he has this elaborate setup where he shows up on the computer. He's like, you agreed to this, like, and Dee's like, oh god damn it. And it's like soundproofed and everything, so they couldn't even hear her anyways.
Yeah.
So eventually she crawls out the window, and they see Dee, and then she falls off. But in the beginning of the episode, they make a pact. They're like, if we escape, Frank will buy us 20-ounce steaks. And since Dee technically escaped in their eyes, not in the escape room, she gets a steak. And and she's at the hospital, and they're like, okay, we want to take the picture for your website since we escaped. And she was like, but you didn't. And they were like, but Dee got out of the apartment first.
Yeah. Dee won.
Yeah. And I love how Frank misinterprets it, like in the beginning when she's like, okay, you guys should maybe make like steaks, like to make you guys want to help you guys win. And Frank is like, you're right. I'll buy us 20-ounce steaks. And then I love how throughout the whole episode, they're like, this is what men do. They control, we're out controlling the world and like doing things and fighting war. And
they're just in an escape room.
It's great. I love that episode. But that's the last one I have, and it's one of the most recent ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's
we
fitting.
covered a good wide variety of episodes, I think.
Started from season 3 all the way to 13.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, they're just going to keep going with this show.
It seems like it.
I know
I
think they got renewed for 15 and 16.
Yeah.
But, and this is really morbid to think about, and he's staring right at me. But I feel like they're going to go till Danny DeVito passes.
Yeah.
Because he's like 75 or 76 now.
Yeah.
He's getting up there, and I don't think they would ever continue the show without him.
I don't think so either, no.
So, but hope, let's not think about it, but
yeah.
But yeah.
We just love this show. This is
we
great.
love
Always
Sunny
show. I've been watching it for a long time.
Maybe eventually in the future we'll do some kind of ranking or tier list with it. Maybe like the top seasons.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I could definitely talk more about this show again. And I'm probably going to watch more before I go to bed tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. There's our favorite Always Sunny episodes. And now you know. So
well, I think that was a good episode. Go on to.
I'm gonna chug this beer real quick.
You should do that. Follow us on Instagram. Join our Facebook group. Linktree's in the description. If you like what you hear, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I think we covered it all.
Only 5-star reviews, or I will hunt you down. No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously, leave us a genuine review because it helps us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Yeah. And also, I mean, yeah, we obviously want 5-star reviews. Helps us get seen on there.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do all those things. Do all those fun things that Colton told you to do. Or don't. I don't
all
care.
That shit. What do now?
And if you really... what do now? And if you really like the episodes, go ahead and download them too. But, I understand you got storage space and all that. We're just happy you're here. Anyone that's listening, we're happy you're here. You don't have to do anything extra. But if you feel the need to, we would appreciate it.
Yes.
Anyways, that's the episode. Before we end, I want to end it with a famous Charlie quote.
Okay.
I mean, technically Dennis says this, but Charlie wrote it for him. Hello, fellow American. This you should vote me. I leave power good. Thank you. Thank you. If you vote me, I'm hot. What? Taxes, they'll be lower, son. The Democratic vote for me is right thing to do, Philadelphia. So do.
So
do. There you go.
All right. Well, I don't think we have anything better to say than that.
Nope. Go ahead and roll that outro.
All right.
This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The Odd Drunk Podcast recommends that you follow their Instagram and join their Facebook group for more fun content. To view all of our current available streaming and social media platforms, visit our Linktree in the description below. If you enjoy the show, it would be appreciated if you leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Okay, Colton, you can roll the outro now.